Hey. Okay, everybody, welcome to Weekly Shonen Jump 2025, issue number 41. So, of course, on the cover this week, we have a brand new series taking its debut, and that being a series last week we were calling Modulo, but now we know it as Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo. It's kind of a weirder name. Mojuro makes more sense to me, but as we now know, this is an alien story, so we can infer that this is not supposed to sound like a Japanese word. It's probably supposed to be alien. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk more about that series in just a moment. But before we begin, obviously, usually talk about news, but there kind of isn't a lot to talk about this week, other than the fact that we now know that, yeah, this new series is linked to JJK, which we had no idea before. We knew it was Gege writing, but we did not know it was a JJK successor. Beyond that, not a whole lot to talk about up front. We'll talk about each series as we continue. There's definitely stuff to say. Nice Prison did end, and we have a new series starting next week, but again, we'll cover that later. The one thing I do want to talk about this week, before we start, is the fact that I have experienced these chapters completely differently from how I normally do, so this episode may be a little different. I don't know in which way. Maybe this will be better for the show, or maybe it will be worse. I can't tell you yet, because I was out of town this weekend, so I read these chapters earlier, whereas usually I read them in succession and then I record my thoughts immediately after reading it right here. Like I'll take the iPad, read it, record, talk. In this case, I read the chapters on the flight back home. So this was about 5 hours ago now. I'm finally getting the time to sit down and record. So the good news is I've had time to marinate my thoughts on all the chapters because of this. But the bad side of it is that all the thoughts and all the events of said chapters are kind of jumbled around in my mind now. So we'll see how this goes. This isn't how I'm used to experiencing these things. So we'll see how it goes. I personally can already tell you I don't really like this way of doing it. But hey, maybe if it's better for the show, I'll keep it up. I doubt it though. Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter 1 Special Grade Incident. So, JJK. I get to talk about JJK on this channel. I absolutely love JJK. You can see it displayed proudly on my shelf right here. It's one of my favorite series that has run in Shonen Jump, to be honest. I absolutely love JJK. I just think there's a lot to love about it. The characters are incredible. The story is really engaging and interesting, and the fights and power system is just immaculate. So to be able to step into this world like 60 years later is exciting. Like I honestly, because this leaked that it was a JJK sequel earlier in the week, so I knew before reading this chapter. Even then, I was thinking like, okay, so is this like a direct sequel? Like, are we gonna get characters from the original series in here? And we do, kinda, but the main focus is on Yuta's children and their alien friend. So this is where we get our hook. We got aliens in JJK who also use curse energy, seemingly. Although our main alien character here seems to have some sort of different power that does seem to set them off. That something is different about him at the end. This third eye here, which, to be honest, doesn't really seem that far-fetched to me in this world. Like, I don't know if it's because he has the third eye that's making them question like what he is, or if it's because of his power. I don't really know. I guess it's the third eye, but I mean, have you seen Tengen from this series? That's a straight up alien. I guess Tengen wasn't like a known thing, so not many people saw him, but still, like, man, there's crazier things out there. So yeah, this was just a really, really wonderful chapter. I gotta admit, I really enjoyed it. It feels like JJK's back. It's not Gege doing the art, which is a shame. I wish he was, but Yuji Iwasaki is pretty phenomenal. I gotta admit, I did really love their art during Cypher Academy. That was the best part of Cypher Academy to me, because I really didn't care about that series all that much. But this is they knocked it out of the park. This looks phenomenal. It's capturing the JJK vibe and feel without mimicking it visually, because art-wise there really aren't a whole lot of similarities you can draw between Gege and Iwasaki. But still, bang up job. It looks amazing. Right off the gate, it was pretty jarring to know that the series takes place like 68 years after everything we know, and to even have like Yuta, like as an old man. We don't get to really see him, but just have him being old, mentoring his grandchildren, and then dying, and already learning that Maki died before. That's just, I don't know. It's whiplash. It makes you feel a certain way, but it also is nice to know that they all got mostly happy, fulfilling lives. It seems we don't get to see what happened of other beloved characters like Yuji and Megumi and stuff. But hopefully they had good lives too. We don't know if they're dead. They are slightly younger than Yuta, so maybe they're still kicking, but I kind of doubt it. But for what it is, as this new set of characters whose names I don't quite have down yet, I think it's the aliens like Maru, and then there's Yuka, is the daughter or the granddaughter, and the boy isn't coming to me right now, but I'll get there. Just give me a week or two. I'll probably get them next week, to be honest. I love this through line with the ring, and I love the sibling dynamic here. It's very funny, and it's very gay the way that they fight on sight in that one moment, and then immediately snap like, all right, we got stuff to do. Let's do it. It just feels so gay, and obviously he is writing it. This isn't something where it's just like an inspired sequel. Like it's not like a Toyotaro Dragon Ball situation. This is gay in the writer's chair 100%. And you can feel that for sure. It's very wordy. This chapter alone took me basically as long as it took to read the rest of the magazine. That's an exaggeration, but this took a while. This is probably a good 30-40 minute read for me because I was really trying to grasp and understand this and soak in every detail because it has a really great hook. Like you're just like locked in. You're like, oh man, okay, so this is a distant sequel. We got aliens, children of Yuta. Wow, what's this world? We're trying to like look in the background and see like where the world has gone, and then you lock in whenever you see like, oh look, they mentioned Yuji, they mentioned the culling game, Sukuna. It's just fun. It's cool. I love sequel series like this that can just have fun. And the fact that this gets to be a limited series, is only about 3 volumes apparently, is awesome. I love that we're not going to drag this out to be a whole like Boruto or Dragon Ball Super. This is just a cool, distant epilogue, I guess, to show where this world goes. And that's not to say we can't backfill either. We could get stuff in the 68 years that we missed. There's probably plenty of stuff to talk about then. But I love this for what it is. This is going to be awesome. I really can't say a whole lot more than just my general impressions right now because it's just, that's what first chapters are for, just general impressions and vibe of the series. But as we go along, I'm going to have a lot to say about this because I'm really excited. This is, I'm very much into this. This is going to be a really good time, and I'm going to look forward to every chapter for as long as we have this. I think as far as first chapters go, this is about as good as you can get. This is fantastic. Just unfortunate that you can't really recommend this to somebody who hasn't read JJK. You could probably get something out of it, but it's not like they explain the power system, so you're probably going to be lost. But hey, you can still give it a shot, I guess. If you don't mind being spoiled on like some end stuff from JJK, but just read JJK. It's not even that long. WillOWisp Chapter 49, A Glass of Water. This is a very cool like amping up of the stakes. I definitely feel the weight of the World Hater magic a lot more than I did before. Not that he didn't have a presence, or it didn't have a presence. I don't know what you call the World Hater magic. But this really bumps them up a lot. Like, this makes them feel like this all like overseeing entity that's like got strings all over the place, controlling puppets, making sure things go their way. And with this butler character, or whatever they are, the person who's saying they're a messenger, is really driving that home. Because this is like a classic, like servant of the devil type character. Kind of reminds me of like Gin from Bleach in a way. Although probably not a turncoat in the end. That massive spoiler for Bleach, sorry about that. If you haven't read Bleach, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, really cool stuff with Jikishiron here. Or Jikishirone, however you say it, I still don't know. I really like this dynamic with the, what is the magic? The like future seeing magic or something that she's contracted with. Or not contract. I'm like mixing up Chainsaw Man terms. Well, however this series works, like I read too much shonen garbage. I don't know, man. But anyways, I love how like she kind of like the magic kind of comes out and snaps and it's like, don't you even think of touching Jiki, as it says. That's cool. That's an interesting dynamic. And of course, gotta mention Discaris, coming in at the end and kicking ass. That is very exciting. I love this. I love seeing Discaris do anything. She's my favorite part of the series, bar none. And this was a badass moment. Just that shoulder grab. And then just that, like, the same look she always gives. But it can be used in different contexts very effectively. So this is ramping up to be something awesome, and I'm very excited to see next chapter. Really good chapter overall, though. Just it felt very tense, and you could just... It was a good way to build up the World Hater magic more. And now we get a cool Discaris moment. Hopefully it's not cut short, although I feel like it will be, because we can't just take this guy out now. I think that's too major for this random point in the story, really. Who knows, though? Maybe Discaris can kick some ass and make something happen here. That'd be interesting. If this messenger can't even deliver his message, I think that'd be pretty crazy. One Piece chapter 1159, The Island of Fate. It's happening. We are getting God Valley. There's almost no doubt in my mind. You never really know with Oda, I suppose. We could cut away and do other Loki things or something, but this seems just natural at this point. We are gonna get the entirety of God Valley, and that's incredibly exciting. I've been in a loop week to week, complaining about the same things with One Piece, but that ends today. I'm just going to enjoy this for what it is. I am going to try to not think of this as the Elbaf flashback that I wanted it to be, and instead just view this in the context of the larger story of One Piece as just a One Piece flashback. We are seeing things that we need to see in order to set the stage for what will inevitably be the final battle. And doing that right now and here does make sense narratively in terms of the overarching grand story. In terms of the story of Elbaf, I don't get it. I don't see why we're doing it here, but whatever. I'm not going to keep doing that. Sorry. I'm sorry. Forget that. Those days are over. I'm just talking about this and having a good time. So, this chapter, so many things we get to see here. We get to see a very young dragon who's still in the Navy, which is so cool. I've always wanted to see that. Get to see a young Morgans, which is really interesting. That's not something I thought we'd see. We even get a little glimpse of the Kuma flashback side of this flashback by seeing Ivankov and Ginny again. Always nice to see them. And of course, little Kuma. And the big reveal here that Rox isn't really his name, and it is in fact Davy D. Zebek, which means he's a descendant of Davy Jones. What does this mean for the larger story? Don't know. We have to wait and see, because we still don't know who Davy Jones is. There's plenty of theories. Some people say this could be Joy Boy himself, or like the evil Joy Boy, like the Blackbeard to Luffy. So I'm not really one to talk about the whole larger implications of his name being Davy and him being a Davy. But it is definitely interesting, because of this, that also means that Blackbeard is related to Davy Jones, which is pretty huge. But the funny thing is, we only know it's huge because Davy Jones is a very important name. I mean, obviously in real life, we all know the name Davy Jones, and also in One Piece, that's a pretty legendary name. So really, it's just big because it sounds big. We don't really know the implications of it, but because we get this dropped now, when we do eventually learn more about Davy Jones, we can immediately backfill and learn like, oh wow, so that means this about these characters. And that's something I really do like about One Piece. That tends to happen a lot. And I think it's a very fun way to piece out information. Other than that, we get to see Garling being a huge piece of shit. That was vile and disgusting. I hate that guy so bad. No wonder he becomes one of the elders. He fits right in. We're definitely getting into the territory of what I was talking about last week with how Shanks was likely put up for a prize, or maybe him and his brother, or just one of them and the other one got taken, yada yada. We'll have to see. But that is definitely going to be the case, because he doesn't really give a shit about these kids, I don't think. But maybe he will have a reason to care. Maybe he'll notice something in them. I don't really know. We gotta learn more. Where this is gonna be an ongoing thing. We are setting the stage for this flashback. I can see it. Like, this is definitely going to be all of God Valley. There's almost no way it won't be. So many questions are about to be answered, and it's almost It's not almost, it just is overwhelming to think about how many questions this is going to answer. We're likely going to see the death of Rox in this flashback, which is crazy. I mean, we just met this guy really a few chapters ago, but this is where he dies. We know that, or at least presumed to die. Maybe he fakes his death or something. It is One Piece, and we know how death goes in One Piece. And another quick observation I just wanted to point out with this chapter is just the fact that the art was actually pretty nice. I'm not going to say the paneling was anything great because it's modern One Piece, but art-wise, I don't know. Oda just kind of nailed it this week. It felt really clean, which I cannot often say about One Piece art. It was just pleasant to look at pretty much the whole way through. Still very busy panels and such, but the art was clear, which is damn impressive for a modern One Piece chapter. Usually you gotta squint and zoom in all the way to figure out what is even happening, but didn't really have to do that this time, so kudos to Oda for that. And this was a fantastic chapter. I really did enjoy my time with it quite a bit. But again, it's still a setup chapter for bigger things to come, so buckle in. WillOWisp Chapter 216, The Student Council Succession Saga, Part 2. That took me like 8 times to say that title correctly. I don't know why. I did not expect to read this and feel disappointment after I read it. So I talked a lot last week about how I was really hoping this would end up being like a parody of the Succession contest from Hunter x Hunter, or something akin to that, just like really complex, a lot of ins and outs, big setup, big, long, drawn-out thing. But no, it's not. Is that bad? Probably not. Like, it's not over, by the way. There's still maybe a couple parts left. Probably not a lot, though. It's kind of going in a different direction now, where we have Jekyll finding a real student council team that he wants to run with. And I guess that'll be kind of sweet. Well, it's not like he has to find it. It's just his friends, Miharu and the others. I don't know their names off the top of my head, but he's gonna win. There's really no question that Jekyll isn't going to win. But there's still definitely room for entertainment here. Like, I think this can still be an entertaining, fun little thing. It just won't be as elaborate or fun as I thought it was going to be, which is kind of a shame. There is still definitely some attempt at emulating like some bigger, like Three Kings from Yu Yu Hakusho. So just like some kind of Succession type arc, which I can't really think of a whole lot that exist, but they're out there. Not really much else to say about this chapter. It was alright. I just kind of wanted more from it, but it still got a few chuckles out of me, and I think it'll still be fun going forward. Just not quite on the level I wanted it to be. Me and Roboco Chapter 248, Study Session and the Trio. This one didn't really land for me. I get the jokes, obviously. I mean, they're not really complicated, but they're just not funny. And yeah, I don't know. Nothing really landed this time. I'm kind of struggling. Like, I remember it. If you missed the intro, I read these chapters multiple hours ago, so they're not as fresh in my mind as usual. Some developments with Akane, which is cool, like just easing her into the friend group more, but the way we got there is odd. I don't really, and that's the joke. So like, haha, yeah. But I don't know. I just didn't really click with a whole lot of the jokes in this chapter. I don't know. Whenever a Roboco chapter is mid, what can you really say about it? Even when it's a good one, I don't know. They can just be like, hey, it's funny. But that's at least still something. Fine and serviceable. Blue Box Chapter 210, all in here. On the exact opposite end of what I was just saying about Roboco, there's plenty to say about this chapter. So I talked last week about how the last chapter felt like a finale. This would be one of the final chapters in any other romance series. But Taiki puts it brilliantly in this chapter itself. I'm abridging this, but basically the end of high school isn't a period, it's a comma. I love that. That's such a cool way to phrase that. And that goes for the series itself. Chinatsu may be done with high school, but Taiki's not. And Taiki is our lead. We started with Taiki, and we will end with Taiki. So, does that mean we now have to go through his entire last year of school? That would be pretty crazy. We would be talking, like, this is already pushing to be the longest running romance series in the magazine ever. But if we go through his entire last year of high school, that's going to push it far. Like, this is a long series we're talking about. And I don't think that's smart for it. I don't think it should be like a 300 chapter long thing. But if it is, I'm on board. Like, I'm not going to complain unless it sucks. Which, admittedly, the plot lines outside of what we were seeing in this chapter that are being set up for this, that are being set up for the future, are the weakest in the series, I think, that we've seen thus far. But let's hear it out. Let's see what Miura's cooking. I got a lot of faith. I love this series to death. It means a lot to me. And I'm very much willing to hear it out. This chapter kind of reassured me of that because this was immaculate. Made me really emotional. I love the moment shared between the two of them and just reflecting on everything that's happened so far and just reassuring each other that they'll be by each other's side forever. And that feels very telling. It can also be seen as like a sign, like, okay, things are going to fall off somewhere. We're going to have bad times. But either way, even if we do go through some kind of arc where they have like a falling out or their first fight or something, we'll get back on track. They will resolve their problems and be fine in the end. I almost guarantee it. Like Taiki said, not a period, it's a comma. We got more to go. This series is probably not ending anytime soon. Almost certainly not this year. I'd be pretty surprised if this series ended this year. Hopefully it does end next year though. And I am going to say hopefully because I don't want to see this series wear itself thin. You know, I want this series to stay on top for its whole run. And I've already been questioning at this point, like, is it going to be able to do that? But this chapter really helped me solidify things in my mind. Like, okay, Blue Box is still here. You know, Miura knows what she's doing. The series is in good hands. We just got to trust the process. And that's not to say it still can't go sour, but I want to choose to believe. And you should too. Shinobi Undercover, Chapter 48, Punch. And Punch he did. So this was awesome as hell. I really like this whole thing where he shuts his brain off and also, little tease, apparently this is him reverting to his older self when he was alone. I don't remember the beginning of this series very well, so I don't know if this is something that was previously talked about. But even without that knowledge, I'm very interested. It feels like we're leading up to learning more about Yotaka, which is something that I think was pretty needed. We don't really know a whole lot about him, or at least I don't. Maybe there's a little more that I've just forgotten over the time reading this series, but I'm excited to learn more about our protagonist. Aside from that, though, just the coolest punches of all time. This artist can really draw a punch. Like, damn. And I've actually criticized in the past how certain like climactic big punches didn't really have impact. But now they do. So it feels like my complaint was directly addressed because these are good-ass punches. And yeah, I just love the whole like repeated thoughts in the background while his face is raged out. It's so unique and cool. I love this. It's sad for the character because, we don't want to see him like this. But it's awesome. So, what can you do? You want to see cool shit like this, but this is probably going to be something he learns to control or come to terms with over time, and he can just do this without having to become like a mindless monster. But that will come in due time. We're probably going to learn a lot soon. We might even be flashing back as early as next chapter. I don't really know. It's kind of hard to tell, but it does feel like it's leading into something. So that's exciting. I really like this chapter. This was definitely up there for this week.
Get this man a gun.
Sakamoto Days, chapter 228, Lou. All right, so here's Lou's time in the spotlight. Last time she had to share it, this time she gets the whole thing. And this was really good, I wish we got more. I feel like we're about to cut away again to Heisuke or maybe even someone else. Heisuke's dead on the ground, guys. He's dead. It's over. What we got of Lou, which is not over. We're probably going to keep cutting back and forth, different fights. It's really good. I think this is a solid Lou fight. It's not as good as, basically her only other fight against the one guy in the pet store. I don't remember his name. But so far, so good. I like the whole thing of like Granny Mio like enhancing her, or I guess lowering her alcohol tolerance, or like whatever the word was. I don't know, accelerating drunkenness. I don't know, whatever she did. Cool, fun idea. Classic, like, pseudoscience Sakamoto Days bullshit. The amazing moment of Sakamoto Days NPCs with the alcoholic woman who is drinking, like, was it like, let me see. What was it, 3% or something? Yeah, 3% alcohol percentage, and Lou's just like, you call yourself an alcoholic? That's awesome. I love that so much. But then we do get drunk Lou back. That's a blast. It's been so long, but it's very cool to see. But then she gets held at gunpoint, and we're kind of just stuck there. It's not over. She's gonna have a comeback, I'm sure. But we're cutting away from now to a dead Heisuke. So hopefully he's okay. I know he is. He'll be fine. Pretty good chapter. I love to see Lou fight. Obviously, it's just super exciting. And I never thought we'd see it again. So seeing it here, and, you know, without much interference from Mio, is really nice. Love it. Can't wait to see more from it. But we've got other stuff to see too, including Nagumo vs. Oki, which we have not touched on again once. That's probably my most anticipated thing here, other than Lou. And I got to whet my appetite with Lou, so I can be without that for a little bit. Give me Nagumo and Oki, please. I don't need Heisuke right now. Akane-banashi Chapter 173, Different Standards. So when I first read that title, I had like a sinking feeling, like, oh my god, does this mean like Karashi like failed? Like, did Shomei just hate the performance? But no, he gave it an 87. The other judges, who might as well be irrelevant at this point, they're just like yes men. One of them does get the like think, which gives them some personality, I guess. But no, yeah, they're just, Shomei might as well be the only judge. Let's be honest here. But an 87 is really good. Karashi totally scored 278, whereas Hikaru got 276. So he beat her by 2 points. He's technically in the lead, but we still have Akane coming up, and she's probably going to wipe the floor. Unless she doesn't. It's actually possible, guys. Look, she's looking all confident now, but this could fail. Seriously. I personally don't think it will, but there's a real narrative opportunity here to have Akane face a really harsh defeat. Like, she fails, she loses it. But I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think her performance is going to blow our minds and Shomei's mind, and it's going to be sick. That's next chapter. This chapter, awesome stuff. Love seeing Karashi soak in his victory. He's definitely feeling himself. And I loved that moment where Shomei asked him the question, and he's just like, he's got an answer ready. Like, there's no hesitation. He's ready to answer that shit. And that actually gets him some more points from him. So it was a good call. Yeah, he totally killed it. I loved the performance, and I really liked seeing the results. The results chapters are always extremely fun to read through, and this is no exception. So in Exorcist Kiyoshi, Chapter 59, Cross Paladins Unite. So main thing to talk about here is that we see the final 2 Cross Paladins. There's 2 that we hadn't seen before. One being Tsurugi's older brother, which is interesting. He's the notable one, I would say. The other one is, I don't know. He's got an interesting design. Very much reminds me of One Piece. But this guy, Utsugi Hiriji, is definitely a notable character. He just, he comes in and immediately does property damage. And basically single-handedly causes Kiyoshi not to be promoted to Cross Paladin, like, right then and there. He's got aura, he's got swag. We'll see what he's got in the bag. Yeah, I'm excited though. This is looking to be an interesting setup to what is inevitably going to be some kind of proof of metal arc for Kiyoshi here. He's gotta prove himself, and I think that sounds extremely fun. A good interim thing before like a major, like, serious arc again, just like a lower stakes kind of deal, I think is what the series needs. And yeah, I'm excited to see. This is all set up still, but for what it is, this was a really good chapter. Kagurabachi bonus chapter, Genichi Sojo's Bathhouse Quest number 2. When I heard that this was, you know, it was technically an off week, but we have like a bonus chapter this week instead of a real chapter, I just knew it would be another Sojo Bathhouse Quest chapter. It just makes sense. I don't know. I felt sequel energy. I can't remember if the first one had like a number 1 on it. But I don't know, it just felt like this is something we're going to revisit because Hokazono loves to write shoujo. That is very evident. And this is just excellent. Admittedly, I wasn't the biggest fan of shoujo back in the day. Like not back in the day, it hasn't been that long, but you know what I mean? Like back when he was the villain, I just didn't really care for him. But these chapters endear me to him so much more. This is so funny to see him just like literally like cuddling with Cloud Gouger at the end and like reacting in these extreme ways because of this brat kid just ruining his nice day. Super funny. I love this a lot. This is probably the best thing you can do with a bonus chapter of a series like this. It generally takes itself pretty seriously. The impressive part of it is just the fact that it's a bonus chapter, but it's still full length. Like usually when a series has like an off week with a bonus chapter, it's like 5 pages. It's like just a little short thing. But no, this is a whole normal chapter length, and it's hilarious. I wish we got more comedy in Kagurabachi, honestly, because he can write it. He definitely can. This was super funny.
Feel the power of my magic!
The Elusive Samurai, Chapter 217, Kote Sashi Gahara, 1352. It's a setup war chapter. This is very typical for this series. This is almost one for one how all battles throughout this entire series begin. And because of that, I have absolutely nothing to say about it. Sorry. These are not the kind of chapters I like. I think the battle itself is going to be good, but this chapter was just, it's by the numbers. It's a battle starting. I don't know. Like, it's also like it's the beginning, so there's nothing exciting happening yet. We're just wiping out like the nameless who gives a shit people. Well, what can you say? I don't know. It's a fine chapter. I didn't hate it, but it gave me nothing to chew on.
Oh, that's a baseball!
Harukaze Mound, Chapter 12, Kengo and Nagiharu. So this was a really good chapter. Once again, I am so endeared to Kengo here, who, you know, this is how you want to introduce people. Like, you want to slowly, one by one, just start to learn the team, get to know them, have one-on-ones between the main character and team members. Perfect. Love it. This will make me remember Kengo in the future. In addition to that, I also really like this whole thing where, you know, it feels like Nagiharu hit a wall, which is a very relatable thing. Like, sometimes, even though it can sound ridiculous because of, like, you know, in this case, he's like high schooler. He just started this shit. Like, he did not hit a wall. But it can certainly feel like that sometimes. As someone who's tried to play like competitive fighting games and stuff in the past, I absolutely know the feeling of just like hitting a wall. And obviously this is athletic, these are sports. It's different. I'm not trying to say it's the same thing, but I can relate to it. You know, it does. You can find yourself blaming like just random things for your failures or shortcomings. And that hitting a wall feeling is just so universal across all like competitive activities, I feel. Because it can be hard to identify weaknesses and what you're doing wrong if you're so in your head like Nagiharu seems to be. And I think that was just portrayed really well, and I like that that's a factor in this story. It's really cool. Good stuff. Hima-Ten, Chapter 57, Hime no no Tor Kana. So, as I was saying in the intro, I read Jump on a plane today. This chapter was definitely interesting to read on a plane in a middle seat between two people. So we're continuing this Hime no no nonsense. I've talked about a lot how I do not like this stuff. We have Kana still. We're still doing Kana with this because she's the most affected by this for some reason. Shows Iemori pinups of her, and so something I do like about I don't want to talk about this chapter too long because like what the fuck? It's not bad. It's just like whoa, I didn't need all that. What I do like about how, you know, she shows her chest and whatever, you know, not bare chest, but then a bikini and whatever, you know, awkward to talk about, but is what happens. And how casual she is about the whole pinup thing. You know, it is her job. You know, she wants people to like it. So her casual attitude about it is like endearing. You know, I don't, it is just kind of weird in a romance series because like, it feels like this is like the most obvious romantic pushes of all time. It's like, EMR, you fuck, how are you not seeing this? She wants you so bad. But at the same time, this is what she does. So, like, yeah, you can justify it. It makes sense. Like, she's talking, it's like talking about work for her, basically. Not saying it doesn't come off as awkward. Like, it's still an awkward read. But I think it makes sense, and it is at least unique. You know, this is a unique perspective for a girl in a romance series to have, because it's not like she's, I guess she is jealous of, like, she's worried that Hime no is gonna, like, hit on Iemori, which is wrong on many levels, but it's also, she views her as like a rival. But she's like, oh, I'm clearly better because of a silly thing as just having bigger boobs, and that's actually, okay, so that's the part I think is really dumb and shallow and not how somebody like her would think. Because she knows there's an art to what she does, like to pinup posing and stuff like that. But now she's just kind of dumbing it down to just like, oh, I have bigger boobs, so I'm better. But she also admires Hime no No's work and like buys the magazines herself and all that. So it's like, it's all over the place. You could probably just boil it down to like, she's a teenager, dumb, she's trying to figure things out. I don't know. She's just feeling an emotion and she doesn't quite know how to put it to words. Also, quick thing to point out, I do think how we end this chapter is really cute. I think it's a cute, sweet moment between the two of them. And it does read, weirdly, as more like friends than it does romantic partners. So I can understand it, even though you can see this whole thing as just like the most obvious romantic and even like sexual advancements in the world. It doesn't always have to be like that. You know, there can just be guys and girls as friends. And they can be close enough to do things like this. It does just make you wonder, like, where is this series going with these two? Because it's been pushing these two pretty hard lately. And yeah, it does go back and forth a lot, but I really do feel the most chemistry between these two, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not saying that this is who I personally think is going to like win in the end. I think it kind of has to be Himari because she's like the poster child, but who knows? So moral of the story is, this is a really bad chapter to read on a plane.
What are you doing, step bro?
Anyways, Exorcist chapter 113, Pain. Basically, the only thing I have to say about this chapter is I have to admit, and you know, this isn't anything new really, but just Gakuro with that cool face mask on, I gotta admit he looks pretty fucking cool. But then you take a step back and you remember what he's like when he's not a badass, and it just doesn't feel earned at all. You can like kind of compare it to Kiyoshi, how like he's like this level goofball, but he gets serious. But Kiyoshi earned it. Gakuro's just like a blubbering fool all of the time, and then he like locks the fuck in. Like, look at, seriously, I'm probably gonna put a panel on screen. Look at how sick he looks. I'm dead serious. Those eyes, holy shit, man. That's sick. He just looks badass, but he's just not, if you know anything about this series. But if you show this to somebody out of context, it'd probably be like, hell yeah, that's a kick-ass series, I'll read that. But anyways, final blow seems to have been struck. Maybe this arc is finally ending, and I'll have more to say about this series in the future. And there are more exciting things to talk about with this series in the future, hopefully. I'm so tuned out of this arc, I just am so ready for it to be over.
And it's mommy makeout day.
Kaedegami Chapter 11, Theater Troupe. So I keep talking about a little series called Fabricant 100. And this just keeps being more and more like it. Now, I could be remembering wrong because it's been a while since Fabricant 100 existed. And it's not like I think about it all the time, but I am pretty damn sure that series had like a theater troupe arc. Like a little part of the story where they had to deal with like a fabricant who was like in a theater troupe, I think, or maybe it was like a beauty pageant. I don't know, but either way, it's like very similar timing and structure to this, if memory serves. And that's not a bad thing for Kaedegami. I mean, I think this is actually a super engaging setup. I'm really interested in where this goes. I think this new character, whose name I haven't gotten down quite yet, that's with Ko right now, she's really cool. I think it's a really nice design, and her, like, I almost say like abilities, or just like her skills are cool and fun to look at. It's like a flexible acrobatic type fighter, which is always fun to see. Yeah, I mean, good setup overall. I'm really I'm actually quite looking forward to this new arc, apparently, or whatever this is. This could be a short thing, but I feel like this will be one of those like the first long stretch of story for Kaedegami here. Maybe not a proper arc, but something longer than just like 2 or 3 chapters, Yeah, good hook, good start. I'm excited to see this. And we also have, Ko kind of on his own here, which is exciting too. Not really having to deal with Chiyo in this moment. So this is new territory for the series, and I think that's exciting. Ping-Pong Peril Chapter 9, What You Refuse to Give Up. I'll keep this one short. I just don't really like this match. It's kind of a dud, and I'm not going to choose to let that bring me down. I'm not going to let it lower my opinion of Ping-Pong Peril, because you can have a dud. Yes, it is early on, and it's concerning to see a dud this early on, but it's not like it's the end of the world for this series. It's not creatively bankrupt. I don't see people dooming about this series. I think most people are kind of okay-ish on how this match is going. It's definitely the weakest so far, but it's still fun to read. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's bad. It's just the worst one so far. The final double page spread is really cool, though. I think that looks awesome. This opponent drives me nuts. I can't wait to see him get his ass kicked. Just so shallow and hateable. But yeah, Tyra is obviously going to win probably next chapter, and we'll be fine, even though Taiki is winning. I hate that he shares the same name as the blue box protagonist, because fuck, this guy's nothing like Taiki. But yeah, I don't know. It was an okay chapter. I'm not gonna say it's bad. It's just kind of I'm ready to see a new match. I think this one's kind of overstaying its welcome. Altar of the Flame, Chapter 17, The Wicked Horn. There's things to talk about with this series. It will not be ending at Chapter 19. That's pretty much guaranteed. It will last at least a little longer. There are things like Ekiden Bros, which we'll talk about next, where it's probably going to get canceled, and that could lead to another cancellation batch. So maybe we'll see this series last until Ekiden Bros gets canceled. We'll have a new cancellation wave, 2 new series roll in, that kind of deal. Because Harukaze Mound's probably going to make it past. This one, Shueisha might just be... they're just giving it a little extra time to try to sell itself, because I think Shueisha sees the potential in Kawaguchi, as do many people, including myself. I just don't know if this series is the one. Now, listen, this chapter was pretty good, honestly. I am noticing an improvement in paneling. I'll show something on screen right now, which I think is a pretty good example of paneling, but it's simple, like this is a small victory. It looks really good, it looks great, but compared to previous blunders in paneling and just following of action, this doesn't like make up for it. But it is nice to see, I think, an effort, because it's also, and this hasn't been something I've been talking about a lot, because I felt like the series was just going to end very soon, which it still might. I'm not going to say the series is going to last forever, but it survives for now. It's not ending at Chapter 19. But yeah, I kind of just haven't been talking about it, but it has been improving gradually. Like I've been noticing small improvements in like the art and following the story. It's not perfect. It's still very hard to follow. At least like 1 page per chapter, except this one. I think I was able to read this chapter pretty comfortably. Maybe like a little bit of like, you can argue there's like maybe some more panels that should have been put between some like action moments, just help it flow better. It's kind of like skipping around a lot, you could say, but it's still very readable. That's nitpicking more than anything. I think this was a very well-drawn chapter. I'm not going to say it was incredible or amazing, but I'm noticing an improvement. And if this artist, if Kawaguchi can master paneling or just tone it, like refine it, it can be a legend. There's a lot of potential here with this art style. I still just don't think this series is the one, but I could be proven wrong. I did like this chapter. I really did. So there's that. Let's see what the future holds. I'm going to keep rooting for it to the best of my ability. It's not my favorite thing in the world. It's let me down a lot, but I do just want to see this artist succeed because they have a talent, and it would be a shame to see it go to waste.
Bruh.
Ekiden Bros Chapter 10, Speed versus Speed. Really, man, that's the best you could come up with for a title. That's the most basic shit. You could call any chapter of this series Speed versus Speed. That's the whole point. That is so lame. I have nothing to say about this chapter other than this one page where it is said, you sure do look cool going so fast. To which I say, if only that were the case. That is all this damn series needs. If they can find a way to make running look cool, this series would be a hell of a lot better and more interesting. But what we have is bland and boring, and the running looks like real life. And that's not what you want. They've tried the visual metaphor thing, and it worked to a degree. It's not incredible, but it looked fine and serviceable. But instead, we just get the most basic, boring running ever. And it's so bland to follow in a manga. You could do this in an anime, maybe, and it would look fine, but just drawing people like jogging on a page is not getting me excited. If you remember what I thought about chapter 1, this is a bummer, like this series could have been interesting. I think it had a neat hook. It was pretty endearing, but now it's just not hitting the marks, It doesn't have what it takes. I think this artist needs to go back to the drawing board. This series obviously it's doing very poorly, I think. We don't have volume sales yet, but we do see it here at second to last on the DOC, below Odor of the Flame, who has been placing very low lately. So, you know what? We can thank Ekiden Bros for keeping Odor of the Flame alive, because at least it's worse than Odor.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Nice Prison final chapter. My dad was really a ghost. What a finale. Thank God it's over, guys. Do you see this on screen? If you're like listening to this in the background, tab over for a sec. Just look at what I've been showing. You see this? Do you see it? This was the whole chapter. And then it ends saying, this is one nice prison now. Wow. Awful. So, I always talk about series at length when they end, reflect on the whole thing. But this series was truly terrible. You guys know this. You could have guessed what I was going to say about this chapter from the moment I first talked about it. This is a god-awful gag manga. Worst I've ever read. Not to say that I've really read bad gag manga, or at least a lot of them. I have read bad ones, but not a lot. But this will probably forever hold the place as the worst gag manga I've read. If I read something worse, I will be impressed. This didn't make me laugh a single time. The art sucked. None of the characters were funny or interesting or cool or anything that I enjoyed reading. This was awful. Never read this. Do not read Nice Prison. It is not worth your time in any capacity. But do, please, I'll begging on my hands and knees. If Ed wasn't on my lap right now, I'd get on my hands and knees and beg. Read the 4 Coma Theater segments. They're the best comedy you'll ever read in your life. I mean that from the heart. You will laugh so hard, you'll cry. Take it from me. Alright guys, that's going to do it for Weekly Shonen Jump 2025, issue 41. Really good issue. Honestly, I really enjoyed most of the series this time. This was a good read on my flight. I don't like how I covered this. I think my talking points were a little weaker because I am so detached. It's not like a whole day detachment, but even that couple hours does make a difference. So this is a good experiment. I did it out of necessity, but I will be trying not to do this again in the future, I think. I think I like my normal format of talking about them right after I read. But fantastic week. I did enjoy my time a lot this week. This was just a really solid issue. Chapter of the week is tough this week. There was actually a part of me that wanted to give it the Hima-Ten for a second, but I'm not going to. I do have problems with that chapter, but I liked it for the most part. It was just very awkward to read on a plane. Anyways, though, chapter of the week is going to Blue Box. Chapter 210, all in. Phenomenal chapter. Absolutely perfect. I loved every second of it. It just encapsulates everything I love about the series. And what more can you ask for? Just beautiful, beautiful chapter. I loved every second. It made me emotional. That shot of them, wide shot of the famous blue box. Their gym, you know, it's it was so sweet. I really, really loved that chapter, and I love Blue Box so dearly. So very important, very special chapter. Good work. Next week, we have another exciting issue. A lot of cool things coming up, I'm sure, in all the series. I'm excited to check out another chapter of JJK Modulo. And we also have a brand new series debuting to replace the massive chasm left by Nice Prison. I don't know how the magazine will survive without it, but it will go on. This new series is called, for now, this might get localized as we learned with Modulo, Samu Wan Herutsu. Okay. I don't know. I didn't look up anything about it. Let's just see what it is. I have no expectations. I've seen nothing. I didn't look at an image. There's always like something posted about it, but I saw nothing, and I'll just keep it that way. Let's just see what it is next week. Nobody tell me about it. I don't want to hear about it. Let's just go in blind. Because I can't even fathom anything from that title because I don't know what the hell that means. So 100% blind read going in. Let's see how it goes. But yeah, very good issue this week. I had so much fun with it, and I'm really looking forward to next week. So thank you guys for watching. Of course, please let me know what your favorite chapter of the week was, what your least favorite chapter of the week was, what the most mid chapter of the week was, whatever you want to let me know. And make sure to check out my other videos. Jump Plus video coming very soon, I promise. Keep an eye out. And from there, other normally scheduled uploads will begin again. Thank you for watching. Check out other videos, yada yada. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys in whatever you decide to watch next. Thank you for watching.